Welcome back, everybody. Ultimate Seattle Sports Show. Terry Holland, I'm Chris Higgett, and Terry, we've had some great guests on this show, but I'm really excited for our next guest. Jamie Moyer pitched in the majors from 1986 to 2012. He won 269 games. He is a World Series champion. He is an All-Star. He is in the Mariners Hall of Fame. And Terry, Jamie Moyer has helped raise millions and millions of dollars for our community. He's absolutely been amazing. With that in mind, we bring him in, one of the greatest Seattle Mariners of all time. Jamie, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Good morning to you guys, and happy 4th to you guys and all your listeners.
Yeah, happy 4th. Happy 4th to you and your amazing family. Let's begin, Jamie, with the Mariners celebrating 50 seasons this year. On August 8th, the M's will celebrate the top 50 Mariners of all time in a big celebration. How special will this be for you to see all these great Mariners coming back?
Well, for me, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I would bet to say, man to man, everybody's excited about seeing each other. None of us have seen each other in a long time. And I'm sure the stories will start flying. The experiences will start flying. The stories about Lou, talking about Lou and his managing and his tirades and, the winning, that we had and, the struggles, the old ballpark, the Kingdome to the new ballpark, Safeco Field, which is now T-Mobile. I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of excitement, and I'm sure there's going to be a great deal of excitement from the fan base as well.
Well, I know everybody's going to be excited. I know I'm going to be super excited. Chris is going to be super excited. He's already been talking about it all morning to me. But on August 9th, there's going to be a Legends Photo Day, Jamie, with other Mariner Hall of Famers like Randy Johnson, Felix Hernandez, Ichiro, and Jay Buhner. The team that you guys were on had a lot of big stars over those years. So looking back, who were some of your favorites to play with?
Well, I can honestly say that the era that I played in Seattle, I enjoyed playing with everybody. Obviously, everybody had their own little quirks and their personalities and, the sparks when they added to the club. But, you got your Catalysts, you got your Juniors, you got your A-Rods, you got, Randy Johnson. But with all those bigger name players, it takes a cast. And I look back to 2001, 2, 3, when we were really winning. It took that whole club. And regardless of who was on that roster, it didn't matter. It was the whole team, and everybody contributed. And I think that's probably the message that you'll hear that weekend. It wasn't, just one player. It was, it was the whole roster. And to me, that's the fun part about it. It's the accomplishment that you're accomplishing on a daily basis with your teammates. And yeah, of course, you're going to have a player, swing the bat awfully well for a week or two, or a pitcher carry the staff for a couple days, or a couple guys in your bullpen holding things together. But that's what it takes to be a winner.
And that we'll get into the World Series as something the Mariners are still chasing. But you've also had the chance to work with some great catchers over the years. Dan Wilson, one of them. How exciting is it to see Dan now managing this team?
I'm happy for Danny. I mean, I think he seems like he's a baseball lifer, and I think he's, from what I see from the outside, because I'm seeing it just like you guys are. He seems like he's a player's manager, which I think, when you're on a team and, as a player, you want a player's manager. But I think, Danny's all about cohesiveness and everybody being together. And I think that's one thing that's been created with the club. Now, obviously, last year they had a great run at the end of the season. I know there was excitement for this season. Hey, we're only in July. There's a lot of baseball to be played, and you never know what can happen. And you saw what happened last year. The Mariners got hot late, and ultimately that's where you want to be late in the season, hot and be in the race.
Okay, Jamie, looking back to the year 2008, you helped the Philadelphia Phillies win a World Series. Now, you started Game 3 for the Phillies, and they won that game. The Mariners are still looking for their first trip to the World Series. They've got some really good pitching, some of the best pitching in Major League Baseball. In your opinion, are the Mariners close? And if so, what do they need to do to turn the corner to make that happen?
Yeah, they're close. Again, I'm not in that clubhouse, so I don't know what that feels like and looks like on a daily basis. But for me to get over the hump, you need everybody to contribute. And, you're right. They have a wonderful starting rotation. This year they're doing things a little different at this point in the season, but they seem to be getting through it. Their bullpen's going to need to be healthy. And you look at all 30 teams; they lean heavily on a bullpen. You got to find a way to keep your bullpen effective, and you got to find a way to keep your bullpen healthy. And then the hitting. I mean, we all know if you don't score, you don't win. So you got to find a way to piece it together, whether it's hitting behind runners, moving runners over, driving the ball out of the ballpark, big innings, whatever it might be. But you got to do that as a group. You got to do that together. And I know the teams, when I played in Seattle, when we won, we did it together. When I played in Philadelphia, as you referred, 2008, that's how we won a World Series. We played together. We did things together. Our offense a lot of times picked up the pitching, and pitching sometimes picked up the offense. And that's what you got to do when you want to win.
A shout out to you, Jamie, and some of the former pitchers out there. You mentioned how they lean on the bullpen, and I think every team does it. You don't see a whole lot of pitchers going 7, 8 innings anymore. So
it's a different game. Yeah, it's a different game, and I think the bullpen. That's why you've got more guys in the bullpen because you're utilizing the bullpen more, and obviously those late innings are the important innings. I get it. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are, but you're running out of time at 7, 8, and 9, right? So those seem to be more important innings, and that's when the game is determined in a lot of cases.
Yeah. This season, Jamie, the Mariners not only have 6 quality starters on the big league roster, they also have 2 rising stars in Double-A. This season, we've mentioned already, they're doing things somewhat interesting. They're trying a piggyback approach, at least during the first half of the season. The pitchers now seem all bought in. At least that's what we're seeing from the outside. Is this still tough, though, as a pitcher because pitchers very, they do things the same way.
Yeah, and the eras that I played in, this probably wouldn't have been taken as easily as the current starting pitchers have taken it. But, like you said, it's a different time. It's a different era. It's just how they're doing it. And they have a plan. And I'm sure, behind the scenes, they've got it mapped out. Maybe after the All-Star break, maybe they go back to 5. Who knows? Maybe they're trying to keep guys, their innings down because they were elevated last year. Maybe they're trying to keep those innings down. And then, all right, let's see what 5 we can put together in the second half and see where it goes. I have no idea what their plans are, but like I said, Jerry DiPoto, he has a plan. Danny Wilson, he has a plan. That coaching staff, they all together, they have a plan.
I thank the Lord, Jamie, that I never had to ask you about piggybacking and interviewing you. But if you did have to piggyback, Randy Johnson, is that who you'd go with?
That would be interesting. I know Lou, when we were in the Kingdom, Lou liked to have me pitch after Randy. So obviously you've got excessive, velocity before, and then you've got no velocity after. So you know what? But that's, I figured out a way to get it to work, right?
And I'll say this, Jamie, no phrase is used more in the PNW than a Jamie Moyer fastball. And, you are a legend. You are a legend. You threw strikes, my man. You threw strikes.
Hey, listen, I would have loved to see that. Like those 2 guys, and then see how that worked out in the locker room afterwards. You 2 piggybacking. Hey, listen, let's bounce around a little real quick. The Mariners have 2 future star pitchers, Cade Anderson and Ryan Sloan. They're putting up big numbers down in Double-A. How do you approach these 2 pitchers if you were in charge?
You know what? Depending on how the season goes, I might bring up a guy and put him just to get his feet wet as a long man in the bullpen. You're going to pitch fewer meaningless innings, but you're going to pitch at the big league level, which allows you to kind of get your feet wet, kind of gives the organization a gauge of where you stand, and it also gives yourself an idea where you stand, and it also gives the coaching staff, an idea where that was the old style of pitching. When you were the prospect, you came up and you either were the 5th starter or you were the long man in the bullpen, and that's where you got your feet wet. And now once they figured out, okay, maybe he stays in the bullpen, maybe he's ready to move into the starting rotation. But to me, that was a great way to do it because, like I said, you weren't pitching as meaningful innings, so you didn't have that pressure on you, but you had to go out and pitch and compete. And I felt that I saw that. I think they did that with Pedro Martinez. I think they did that with Rick Sutcliffe. You know, we're talking back a few years. The Dodgers did that a lot. I know back in the day. But I know other teams did it as well. I was on some teams that did. I know with the Cubs, we did that at times as well. But to me, that's what I would do to, let some of these younger kids cut their teeth.
Yeah, we've said that on the show. I like the idea as well. I think it would be a great call-ups, both of them, putting them in the bullpen in September and hopefully throughout the playoffs. Last question, Jamie, 4th of July weekend. What's your go-to food for the family?
Boy, tonight we're going to have some sushi. Tomorrow we're going to cook on the grill. We got steak and corn and potatoes and just cooking on the grill, right?
Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. 4th of July, be with the family, hang out around the grill.
Yep. Wait till it gets dark and look in the sky. There'll be fireworks somewhere, right?